Welcome to the From My Stand podcast with Matt Hinkle. Whether you are an avid hunter, a novice, or someone interested in the sport, Matt has a unique perspective to share. Sit back, relax, and kick your boots up as Matt shares what he's seeing from his stand.
Hi friends, thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Matt Hinkle, and it is good to be with you today. In today's episode, we're going to talk about what might sound like a strange topic when you first hear me tell you what it is, but I think it's important enough to give some consideration to in a full episode. We are in the month of May now, and we're in season 2 of this podcast. This is the first full year of the From My Stand podcast, and we're calling season 2 A Year in the Life of a Hunter. And so we're just kind of going through the full calendar year. What's a year look like for a committed outdoorsman? And so we're in May right now. It is turkey season. I did turkey hunt today. Now the weather was really bad, and I called one in but didn't get a shot at it. So I'm still trying to bag my 2025 turkey. But anyway, we'll keep after it. But what I want to talk to you about today is the subject: avoiding or preventing burnout. Avoiding or preventing burnout. Hunting burnout is a real thing. It happens to people. I've went through it a little bit, not too bad or anything too serious, but there's been a few times here and there through the years where, I was just either really tired or just kind of frustrated and just fed up with everything. And, I kind of talked about quitting. Of course, I never have. I've never been able to walk away from it. But I do know that seasonal burnout is a thing. And so tonight I thought we would just take a few minutes and talk about how to prevent that. We're about halfway between the end of last season and the start of next season. And so this might be a good time to just give you a few tips on how to prevent it. I'm just going to give you a couple of things that I hold on to. They might help you. If they do, great. If they don't, maybe next episode we'll hit on something that's a little more helpful to you. But these are things that I have to kind of remind myself of, especially in the marathon of a long season. And let's be honest, not everything always goes according to plan. And so when things aren't really going according to plan and you're kind of in the middle of the marathon, you can be tempted to give up, or you can kind of in those moments forget why you started to begin with. And so these are things that I go back to, and they're just kind of basic things that I go back to, and they've helped me in the past. And so I thought I'd share them with you tonight. And I hope they can be a help to somebody. If I missed something in this episode, if there's something that helps you or something that you do to prevent burnout, or when you're feeling like, man, this is just exhausting, I'm frustrated, I'm thinking about quitting, if there's something that you do that I don't talk about, share it in the comments. Also, we're here in the month of May now, kind of in the off season, although I always say there's no off season. If you've got an idea for an episode, hit me up in the comments, let me know. We're trying to have good quality content. We do some goofy stuff and some fun stuff. I have the family on, and we try to show you that side of us on the channel. But, I really do want this channel to be a resource for you as an outdoorsman or outdoors woman. And I want to put out good quality content. So if you have an idea for an episode, hit me up in the comments, and who knows, it might turn into an episode. But here's some things that I hold on to. Number one, clarify what you want out of the season. We have an episode, actually it's the very first episode of this entire podcast, season 1, episode 1, where I talk about goals. And that's kind of what I'm talking about right now. everybody is trying to get something a little different out of this sport. And it is important I think it's important to really last and to be successful, to just clarify in your own mind what it is you're trying to get out of the sport, what your goal is, what you're trying to get out of all of this. Um, just a few little thoughts about that. Number one, make your goal personal. Somebody else's goal doesn't have to be your goal. One of the most exhausting things to do in the sport of hunting is to constantly compare yourself to other people, because there's always going to be somebody out ahead of you. There's always going to be somebody that's a little better than you, or just has more resources or time than you. And, if you're always comparing yourself to someone else, it's going to get frustrating and it's going to get exhausting. So I would encourage you to make your goals personal. Just because something works for somebody else doesn't mean that that has to be your approach or what you're trying to get out of it. So make sure it's personal. And now, look, I'm not going to tell you not to make your goals high. Definitely make your goals as high as you can. And, Les Brown used to say, if you aim for the moon and miss, you'll land amongst the stars. And so there's nothing wrong with having a lofty goal. In fact, that's, where progress comes from, is from having a lofty goal. But also, you may want to just think about having something realistic. You don't want to set a goal that you really stand no chance of fulfilling this year. Now, if you want to say this is like a goal for the future and start working toward it and trying to make it a reality, that's totally different. But, I would caution you against setting a goal for this year that you stand no chance of making, because really that'll probably just lead to more frustration, and it could possibly lead to burnout, the very thing that you're trying to prevent. But when you clarify what you want, it gives you something to keep pressing towards. Hunting season is a marathon. Also, you may want to just think about when you're really going to make your pushes. I tend to not push in the early season. Where I hunt, the hunting just doesn't tend to be as good in the early season. The hunting picks up about 4 weeks into the bow season. And so, guess what? I don't push myself like a madman, because I don't want to burn myself out before the real action starts. But even if you time your push, if you time when you push, it's still a marathon, especially if you're a bow hunter. I mean, bow seasons in most states, they're a marathon. Here in Ohio, it starts the last weekend of September and goes till like the last weekend of January, or even maybe the first weekend of February. I'm usually not bow hunting that late. Bucks are dropping their antlers and stuff by then. Um, but, you know, you're still facing a marathon of a season, unless you're just somebody that goes out opening day and no other times. If you're going back and going back and going back, it can become a bit of a grind. It can become a marathon. And so sometimes you got to just kind of remind yourself, hey, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. This is what I'm trying to achieve. And sometimes just having that clarity in your mind, because if you don't have clarity, you'll talk yourself into quitting. You'll say, well, I don't really know what I expected out of this anyway. And you can kind of excuse yourself, and you can excuse quitting or giving up early a little bit easier. So I would just encourage you to clarify what it is you're trying to get, and then have a game plan. We have a whole episode about this also. In fact, I think it's episode 3 of season 1. We talk about what's your game plan. Once you know what it is you're after, you got to formulate a game plan. A game plan answers questions like this. Okay, you got your goal. Okay, where are you going to accomplish that goal? Where are you hunting? When are you going to be hunting? I put dates on the calendar. I think it's important to put dates on the calendar and look at them all year, because it'll keep your mind focused. It'll just keep it'll keep your eye on what it is you're trying to do, and you'll be very unlikely to like double book. If you're real clear with everybody in your life, because most of us have jobs, most of us have wives, most of us or husbands, most of us have kids, and we've got other obligations. Our whole life isn't tied up in hunting, and so we have to do all of our obligations. And so put those dates on the calendar, and sometimes that'll really help, in keeping things clear. What do you need? What do you need? Man, I try to figure out at the beginning of the year what it is I need. That way there's no surprises. Now there's still surprises every once in a while, but it's usually a little easier to swing if you got some time to prepare. So what am I going to need? Is there some equipment that's broken or damaged or worn out or obsolete? Or is there just something new you want to try? And by the way, I'm going to give you this little piece of advice. I have found this to be quite helpful. Um, if you can get something new before next hunting season, I encourage you to do it. I always look forward to the season a little bit more if I got something new that I'm excited to try out. And sometimes that'll give you just that little nudge of motivation that you need. Now, I don't usually need a whole lot of external motivation. I'm usually pretty motivated every hunting season, but if I've got some new piece of equipment that I'm going to be trying out or some new gear, that can just make everything fresh, new, and exciting, and it can help you with this matter of burnout. Okay, now the next thing that I'm going to talk about is really central to today's discussion. Okay, we've mentioned a couple of other little things, but this is really the central thing that I want to talk to you about, and that is this. Remember that the outdoor sports are meant to be fun. They're meant to be fun. Make sure, or really try to do this. I know sometimes it's hard, um, but try to keep in focus at all times that this is all supposed to be fun. Um, if you're brand new to hunting, you may not understand what I'm talking about, but if you've hunted for a while, you probably know what I'm talking about. I have had seasons where I let my season become full of pressure and very stressful. And that's not what it's supposed to be. It is supposed to be fun. I have had my greatest success in the outdoors when I was having a good time, when I wasn't under a lot of pressure, when I wasn't totally stressed out about it. I was just out, I was loose, I was having a good time. That's when I'm at my absolute best. And so try to remember to keep it fun. Remember that your whole identity as a person is not tied up in what you accomplish out in the field. Um, I'll be honest with you. I'm not slamming social media, and I'm not slamming technology because I started a podcast. So I obviously believe that there are advantages to the technology that we enjoy. I use cameras. I use it. Oh, my cat's decided. Stormy has decided to join us. Hi, Stormy. Okay, hopefully she won't get too much in the way. But I use modern equipment and all of that. So I'm not anti technology, and I'm not anti social media. But I will say this: technology and social media, I think, has created some dangers for us as hunters, especially in this area of keeping it fun, just making it fun. I would not. I'm not telling you to keep all of your hunting off of social media. I don't do that, but I put things out there on social media about what I do in the field. But let me just give you a little bit of a word of caution. I would be real careful about having announcements ahead of time for everything that you're doing. You don't need to make us, well, here I am saying you don't need to, as though this is fact. This is my opinion. This is just friendly advice. You can do whatever you want, but I would say this. You don't have to make a big public announcement every time you go hunting, because what I think that does is it puts a lot of undue stress and pressure. Because, okay, now I've told the whole world, if you got 1,000 friends on Facebook, or 2,500 friends on Facebook, or 100 friends on Facebook, whatever it is, you've just announced to the world what you're going out to do. And now there's an expectation, and everybody knows what you're out there doing. And it's just human nature, and it's very natural. People are going to ask you, how did it go? Did you get anything? And if you didn't, you're setting yourself up for just this little subtle negative emotion or negative experience connected to your hunt. Look, I know we live in the age of social media and everything is out there. People put everything out there. But there's nothing wrong with just heading out to the field, not telling anybody where you're going, not telling anybody what you're doing, and just going and doing it the old fashioned way. And if you get something, you could put it on Facebook. Say, hey, I snuck off to the woods today and I got a deer, or I got a turkey, or I got a squirrel, or I got a rabbit, or whatever. And then it's kind of a celebration. But just be really, really careful. This is my advice, because when hunting starts to feel like an obligation and there's pressure attached to it and stress attached to it, it's going to suck all the fun out of it. And that is a quick way to experience burnout. Also, on this whole social media and technology thing, be real careful about being on everybody else's social media and seeing all the victories and successes they're having. And because if you're not, you might start to experience negative emotions about what you're doing. And that's just not what it's all about, guys. I'll be honest. So this past season, I did not get a deer. Now, I was very, very picky. I was after a mature buck, and I just had in mind what I was looking for. And what I was looking for didn't give me the right opportunity, or a couple of opportunities that came up. I just had problems. We had a whole episode about that muzzleloader incident. But anyway, before that season, I had a 6-year streak going. I had shot bucks. I'd shot deer 6 seasons in a row, and I'd shot bucks um, 5 seasons in a row. And as that, amongst the family and amongst friends, I would talk about that. Hey, I'm on the streak, and then all of a sudden the streak broke. And I had people ask me, they were like, how are you doing with that? Are you upset about it? Honestly, I wasn't, because now maybe as a younger hunter, I might have been bothered by that. But as I'm getting older, I'm learning to look, this is meant to be fun. And as soon as it's not fun anymore, you got to ask yourself, why are you doing it? So be real careful about just putting this insane pressure and insane stress on yourself, and the comparison thing. Just be real, real careful. Also, remember, the definition of a trophy is very personal. Um, I wouldn't, if I were you, I wouldn't make it a habit of telling everybody else what their trophy should be and judging what other people do in the field, and making everybody else live up to your standards with what they shoot. But also be real careful that you don't let other people define what a trophy is to you. I'm going to tell you something right now. You shoot a white-tailed deer with a bow and arrow in bow range, fair chase, that's an accomplishment. I don't care what you got. They're all trophies. And if you hunted them ethically and legally, and then you take care of them ethically and legally afterwards, and you eat it, man, it's a trophy. Don't let somebody else define for you what a trophy is, and what it isn't. I'll just wrap this episode up with this. Hunt, be ready for the season and hunt with confidence. There's nothing worse than sitting in a stand and second guessing because you didn't do your scouting or you didn't practice, and you're not even sure if you saw that buck of a lifetime or that big gobbler or whatever it is you're hunting. You don't even know if you could hit them. That's torture, man. Just be ready, hunt with confidence. And here's just one last little thing I'll throw in this episode, and that is never be afraid to try new things. If something's not going, if your strategy isn't going right, if your game plan isn't going right, switch things up, hunt somewhere else, try something different. You know, if you're in the marathon of a deer season and you're just literally on the edge of burnout, take a day off. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we put this insane pressure on ourselves as deer hunters, and we forget this is supposed to be fun, man. I don't have to do anything. I can totally change this up today. And I have found sometimes you do that and success comes. Or even if success doesn't come immediately, you get that breath of fresh air and you're not right on that edge of burnout, and you're not feeling all that pressure, and you're not feeling all that stress. So that's my advice to you to avoid or prevent burnout in the outdoors this year. I hope that something that we have said today is a help to you. If I missed something, or if you've got an idea, be sure to hit me up in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And thanks for being a part of this podcast. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, or follow whichever platform it is that you're watching on. Thanks for being with us today. I'm your host, Matt Hinkle, and that's how I see it from my stand.
Thank you for listening today. Be sure to tell your buddies and follow us on your favorite podcasting platforms. Y'all take care.